know. And then look at Cardi B, what she says. She used to sell her
This is me listening to Kwame Brown and Joe Brown talking on that good stuff. You know, they're talking about toxic masculinity. And you know, I've been hearing the word toxic quite a bit. Toxic masculinity. This is a toxic environment. Toxic, toxic, toxic. And, you know, I personally am one of those people that feel like social psychologists and social scientists help people. And I should say happy Saturday night to you all. Yeah, my day was just really interesting to say the least, but now I'm on to nerdy things. Nerdy things. This is one of the books that I'm reading. It's kind of helping me with some thoughts in the book that I am writing. But, you know, I hear a lot of people talk about toxicity. And, you know, I want to talk about toxic insecurity for a second. And I think that this is at least an important thought for people to consider. Because if you saw my video on beta people in society, you know, I kind of look at these individuals as being highly toxic to individuals who have been able to actualize in society. And I focus a lot on the topic of individuals self-actualizing, and that's kind of a subject that's really interesting to me, and I've been focusing on research around individual self-actualization because I think it's, hey, Marshall, happy Saturday. Would have loved to make your day more interesting. No, my day was interesting. It started off interesting, and then like around the afternoon time, around like 3 o'clock, I just decided to just chill out for a second, and I laid on the couch, and it was all she wrote. I literally went to sleep until like 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock. I woke up, my sister and my mom, they're like, I'm missing calls. And I'm just like, and I think it was one of those things where my body was just like, it's time for you to shut down. It's time for you to just shut down and rest. And so I believe in giving my body what it wants. So I woke up. And, you know, you guys, anybody follow my content, you know, I'm not going to come up in here glamorous at all. You're going to get what you get because I'm trying to talk to y'all about something. Okay. Yes, I absolutely needed it. I really needed it. And when my body wants to just shut down and recharge, I am all with it. I feel rejuvenated at 11:13 at night. And I'm like, you know what? Let's talk about this topic because I've been catching, I'm looking at this podcast and I was like, you know what? Let me talk about this topic from a, like, kind of veer off this topic because they're talking about toxic masculinity. And I'm like, let's just talk about toxic, insecure people in society and why they are equally as bad as, you know, the perception of people who display toxic masculinity. Now, when I think about insecure people in society, beta type people in society, I think about individuals who maybe in their mind or maybe in society's mind does not measure up to some level of standard, right? Judge Joe Brown talked about the beta boys, right? Where they were men that he observed. Shelby Steele talks about these beta men in his book as well. These are my reference points. Shelby Steele talks about it in his book. These men, these white men who can't make it in a white man's world, you know, these types of people beyond white men are existing in the United States, and I feel like in great majority. And I think we need to start talking about these people because I feel like what we're doing in the United States is creating a toxic environment, a toxic country environment for people who have been able to self-actualize and people who have a sense of individualism and personal acceptance. What they're doing is, in my opinion, they are force feeding individuals who do not measure up they're force feeding their insecurities onto other people. Now, what are these individual types like? And I'm just talking off the top of my head right now because Judge Joe Brown and Kwame Brown got me thinking. And I'm thinking, well, the race baiters, right? The race baiters, the ones who are able to be swayed by these race baiters, these people who target the emotional appeal, reminding you of all the things. I look at race baiters as, individuals who would, like, if you had like a woman who came in, who overcame an abusive relationship, right? So she overcame an abusive relationship and she's managed to elevate her mind beyond that and, move on with her life in a mentally healthy way. And then you have this person that's supposed to be on her team that's constantly reminding her of the fact that she was in an abusive situation at one point. That is what race baiters are to me. And they target beta minded individuals who are susceptible to being able to have an emotional appeal to those types of panderings. Now, I am not saying that the opportunities in the United States is equitable and has always been equitable for Black individuals within the free enterprise system, I should say, because I want to read something to you guys. And this brother never got back to me, so I don't know what his thoughts are on this. But when you hear people talk about inequity, and when you hear people talk about fairness and opportunities, I'm really kind of shaky on that, these arguments. So, if you're following my poll on LinkedIn, I ask people which is the most important for people to have today. Now, right now, we're at 64% of individuals thinking that faith in God is something that individuals need. But, the other options were better government, access to more opportunity, and a sense of individualism. So this brother got on a mic, and, a lot of people felt this way as well. And he goes, the fact that only 12% chose, and it's more than that now, but at the time of his comment, he goes, the fact that only 12% chose access to more opportunity is why we have so much poverty and crime in this nation. Now, I challenged him with this thought. Opportunities are created, if not by you, by somebody else. If created by you, it will be your story to elevate. If created by somebody else, you will be along for the ride. So are you saying that you need more opportunities to be along for the ride? It seems like people are creating opportunities even through chaos every day. Do you know how to do that? So, again, and then people want to talk about, well, we need more help. We need more help. Let me tell you about these people that say we need more help. We need more help. We need more help. A lot of these people, when you really boil it down, these people want something that they don't want to put the effort to get. They don't. And a lot of people, and this is not minimized to any race in this country. This is across gambit. We live in a country of very entitled individuals, no matter what race you are. Excuse me. We have a bunch of entitled individuals. So the individuals are thinking that they need more opportunity, access to more opportunities. Look at these YouTubers. Look at all of these people capitalizing on needs of the market and leveraging their skills and capability and are building businesses, getting investors to believe in their businesses. It's happening across gambit with blacks, whites alike. But I feel like these toxic, insecure people in society want handouts. They want handouts. And here's the thing, no matter how much you hand out anything to somebody, they're going to still have their hands out because they are not conditioned to work for it themselves. And these people are jealous of people who are willing to put in the work. That is what we are dealing with. We are dealing with people who can't measure up to a standard of beauty. You got the Instagram models, the Instagram look. You got to look a certain way. You got to have this particular face. You got to have cat eyes. You got to have big perky lips now. Like before, they used to diss black women. Now they're appropriating our features as this beautiful thing, but now you got to over enhance them. You know what I mean? And there are a lot of insecure people in society that will not be able to measure up to those standards of beauty without significant plastic surgery. That's why we live in the age of plastic surgery and depressed, insecure people. Because we have all these models of what is beautiful. We have all these models of what is successful. And we have a whole lot of people that cannot measure up to those things. You know, we live in an entitled society. We live in a very, very entitled society where parents were well off enough that their kids did not have to meet basic expectations. I can't believe how many people's houses I go into and the parents are doing everything, every damn thing. Kids ain't washing the dishes. They don't, you know what I mean? When I was 7, my mom had me washing dishes, teaching me about my chore, giving me a chore regimen so that I just understood those basic household things. The parents are doing everything. So we have all these entitled people, whether they black, white, Puerto Rican, I don't care. All these entitled people who haven't had to work for a damn thing. Their parents just giving them allowance. Bad grades, here, giving you allowance, giving you money, giving you what you want because you whining. Instead of teaching your kids that you don't get anything that you have not put any effort into getting. So when I look at the arguments of people in society today, and I hear all these people talking about it's toxic, you're being toxic. No, you're being a punk. You're being a punk and you're being a crybaby because somebody in your life did not yell at you, put you in your place to challenge you to do better. You know, we got a lot of emotionally charged individuals running around in society, making decisions, making arguments. And all the time, it's like you are the toxic person. You are the toxic person. To be honest with you, I look at the individuals that are in the LBGTQ, whatever acronym else, I don't follow that like that. I look at some of those people as being highly toxic people in society. Because regardless of how you think that you identify and what transitions in your own personal life that you decided to make, it is not society's responsibility to accept you beyond respecting you to the degree that people need to respect other human beings. You know what I mean? I don't believe that you should force feed somebody's scientific decisions about themselves on other people. People are coming out with all these confusing things like gender pronouns and stuff, creating a toxic environment for people who really don't rock with that. You can be, if you are a man that decides that you want to be a woman, that is your business. If we have to work together, we're going to work together all the same. But what you're not going to do is force feed you on me because it's none of my business. And this is the toxic environment that a lot of people are creating for other human beings. And when it all boils down to it, the person with the toxicity on their lips, the person saying you're toxic, you're toxic, you're toxic, are the ones that are toxic themselves, who are emotionally weak, who are not emotionally strong to get a rational and objective opinion. And this goes down to a lot of people, women too. It's like, you know, obviously societal standard of beauty has never changed. And if you want to blame anybody for the societal standards of beauties, you need to go and deal with your mainstream people that keep pushing out these images that are well above average. And then also you got to think about all these women who are getting these plastic surgeries to disproportionate their body. They're looking like Baphomets. They're looking like Baphomets. And that's another thing. I wish people would stop saying that they want to be the GOAT. Just liminal state for and I even got the booster and everything. But I swear, when you hit some of those hot words like Baphomets, y'all know y'all out here worshiping the devil. Stop playing with people. Y'all got other people worshiping the devil. I swear, as soon as I mention something like Baphomet or something like critical race or black people, the internet just started, because I'm telling you, y'all know the devil is busy. He don't want people hearing the truth. Now they know that the mainstream media got our black women looking like Baphomets. They are disproportionate, even down to some of the way that they put their hands and their bodies. They are engaged in satanic ritual. Man, did y'all see how they just cut me off like that when I said our women look like Baphomet? I told y'all I am not tripping. I keep getting kicked out. So I'm just gonna say trust in God, the devil busy, and let me move on from saying the B word. Am I still on? Can you guys still hear me? Because apparently the cyber lords, they're like, don't talk about the Baphomet. Don't talk about them. That's our God. That is their God. But anyways, I was talking about toxic insecurity, and you may know somebody like this, somebody who is absolutely jealous of somebody else. And the minute you tell them about themselves, they're like, you're being toxic or insensitive. Actually, that person is the toxic insensitive one. They're the toxic insensitive one because they can't take criticism without getting into their feelings. They can't take rejection without getting into their feelings. And I wish that some of our richer black brothers, when you get famous or when you get, some of y'all need to get the memo to stop jumping on the train of some of these women that are being thrown at you, because some of these women are ops. And this is how you get a whole lot of brothers catching cases. You know what I mean? Because these women are just being catered to them, and they buying into it because they're feeling like a king. And I think a lot of these women that they send to some of our brothers that get newly famous, I think that these women are plants. They are really set up. You can hear me? Can hear you? Will message your questions and recommendation to ask your internet provider. Thank you. Hey, I mean, I got Comcast. They supposed to be, it's high speed internet. I just bought a wire, or what is it, a Wi-Fi booster. So, and it's been working pretty decent. So I'm not sure, but I'm saying I feel like the algorithms on some of these social sites are very sensitive to certain words, because they don't want, a lot of these buzzwords to be in people's brains. They want to infiltrate your brain with all kinds of demonic stuff without you understanding who the demon is. I'm more like, well, let's talk about this demon. I look, and I do speed to, they'll, like, Google will tell me, like, what the usage is like in my area. So I'll figure it out. I personally do believe that this is algorithmic. I really do. I just feel like there are certain topics or subjects that the internet cyber gods are very sensitive about, because they want people in a demonic state of mind. So that's just me. But getting back to it, I think that the toxic people in society are the beta insecure people in society. People who look at themselves every day in the mirror and they feel like they cannot measure up to societal standards. And instead of just being themselves, developing their character, and being the person can be, I feel like these individuals typically resent other people who are able to actualize or have something or be something that they cannot, and you see it all the time when you have like a friend group, and this friend group, well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Someone told me this is a high usage area, so I know there's going to be a little. And we have a couple of broadcast stations within the general area too. So I'm pretty sure we're all competing, because, again, the U.S. is so behind on broadband. But, like I said, the people that can't look themselves in the mirror and accept themselves for who they are and how God made them, without trying to compare themselves to a status quo in society, these are the individuals who I feel like resent the individuals who don't even, like, I don't want to measure up to anybody's standard of beauty. Like I said, I'm more of a bohemian free spirit where I just do what I want with my beauty. And it's like, this could be a yuck day, but I would say I probably get hit on more when I don't try than when I try. And that's kind of weird too. It's so weird. It's so weird. When I don't wear makeup and I don't try to be society standard of beauty, I feel like men tend to appreciate me a little bit more. And I don't know if that's just, well, I can kind of see what your face really looked like without all the contours and the colors and the dolling up of the face. So I think, women should definitely get back to a natural look, because I think that men, they want to just see what we look like without all the makeup. I look like crap sometimes. I look nice sometimes, but it's like, you're going to get me regardless. So anyways, think about this though. When you're talking about toxic masculinity, are you talking about somebody who has an alpha personality, who is a straight shooter, who tells you like it is, and is the receiver a beta personality who cannot take a different type of personality that is more direct? About these people. These people are ruining us right now. They're ruining America. And we have to understand that when we're entertaining all these sympathy junkie arguments, we have to be able to step back from the emotions, their emotions, our emotions, and just ask ourselves, like, okay, why is this important for me to really absorb emotionally, right? So, John wants to be Joanna. He wants to be a woman, right? John decides that at some point he wants to change himself to Joanna, right? So now John now comes into work as being Joanna, right? Now, again, it is my right to feel like that is weird, right? But that is something that I feel like I keep to myself, you know? And now it's okay, I'm not John. Please call me to Joanna. Okay, Joanna. Okay, hi, Joanna. You know, I'm going to call you by what you want to be called. Fine. Respect. I'm going to respect you to that degree. But when you start wanting to share your problems of gender dysphoria and transitioning or whatnot, I'm not going to be the person that you can come and talk to, you know? And I'm being realistic about that because that's not something that I choose to understand from the respect of counseling people on how to accept themselves for an identity that they think that they have. And I know that biologically, that person was born a man and, you know, is a man. You know what I mean? I was looking for you earlier. You know what happened? Around 3, I did all this stuff, and then up until 3, I decided to lay down, and I went to sleep until 9 o'clock. So I totally blew the afternoon. I couldn't even believe it. I woke up and I saw some daylight. I'm like, oh, it might be like 6 or 7. It was like 9. So I'm here and I'm actually kind of up. So, and I'm talking about these toxic people in society. You know what I mean? Everyone was talking about this is toxic and that is toxic. And I think that the LGBTQ and the transgender population, I find them to be toxic. You know, I find the social justice warriors to be toxic because none of these people have a clear measurement and data to suggest that American society should absorb their insecurities. And that's what we're dealing with. Everything, you are a toxic person if you do not absorb my insecurities. That's the society that we're living in. You know, I'm toxic because I don't want to absorb the fact that a man that is not a woman. He's not going to have the rite of passage of being you're a scientific woman. You know, you can say she, her, pronouns all you want to. I'm just going to call you by the name that you identify with because I'm not about to confuse myself with all these confused people. I mean, I think that's what we have right now in society is a bunch of people. And liberals have done a good job at sprinkling in all these colorful, crazy things. Don't think that these gender dysphoria studies have not had samples where people have not sacrificed their own children in these dysphoria studies and have freaked them out. Like when I think about all these individuals who have transgender, gender identity issue, especially the men, it boils down to your mom let you wear makeup when you were a child. She let you wear heels when you were a child. She did not put your masculinity in the proper context. And a lot of these men that I feel like have gender dysphoria today is because of their moms. I'm putting it on the moms. You have been going hard as of late. I respect your work ethic. Glad you got some rest. Man, I tell you, I needed it. I think my body is weird because when I go hard, it has just shut me down. Like all I do is just make that decision. Oh, I'm just going to lay down for like 10 minutes. And my body's like, nope. How about 7 hours? And it'll just put me down. But I really do feel like I've been out of balance lately, though, because I've been reading a lot, trying to do videos, working, and it's just, you know, I feel like I do need to get more of a divine balance with the things that I do, but I have so much stuff in my brain right now that I want to get out. So I'm writing my book, and I'm quoting a lot of authors. So I got my boy Shelby Steele. Check this book out. This is a really good book. It's sort of autobiographical, but he sort of talks about these same type of liberals that we're dealing with today. What's up, Tiff? There's a gay man on the Ricky Smiley show named Gary with the T. He's against parents pushing minors to be trans, and LBGT is mad at him. Of course they're mad at him because they have been pushed into being trans. A lot of trans people, if they really sit back and really sit with themselves, a lot of their behaviors and their lifestyle choices is a result of what their mother typically has allowed, is a result of what their own mother's insecurity was, to me, put on them. You know what I mean? So if you have a mom who wanted to really have a girl, for example, and she's a psychological liberal nut who really wanted a girl, and the minute her son starts acting like a girl or playing with something pink, then she, in her mind, says, oh, let's explore this more to see if he's gay. A lot of these mothers are ruining their kids. And I'm sure that Gary with the T, a friend of mine, we were talking about that. There's so many root cause issues to gender dysphoria. And it really has, to me, I feel like if we were to really break it down and ask these people and look at the reoccurring patterns, I think that we'll start seeing a lot of reoccurring patterns while we are seeing this uptick in gender dysphoria type people in society. And I think it has everything to do with parents pushing their minor children to explore these lifestyles, because you've got to realize you have these hyper liberal people who need people projects. And sometimes those people projects come in the form of screwing up their kids because of popular rhetoric or making somebody else feel better. And it's so interesting because there was this lady that was interviewed at Pride Week, and Pride Month and parade, the Pride Parade or whatever, they had a lot of adult thing here. And this is my thing with some of these transgender pride people. It's like, I like festivals, I like music, I like being proud about myself, but some of these people are outright deviants. Like, to me, you don't have to prove how gay you are by being an extreme deviant. And I have gay friends that are like, we don't rock with those people. I mean, so even in your LGBTQ whatever community or whatever, they are not monolithic. Those people are not monolithic, because even some gay people don't rock with today's transgender and gay, because they're like, look, I just want to be gay. I just want to work like everybody else. I don't need to be extreme. I ain't got to be flaming all over the place, doing jumping jacks, wearing all kinds of colorful hairs. Some gay men are just gay men. Some gay women are just gay women. And they like, that's it. I ain't got to be flaming all over the damn place. So a lot of gay people in the gay community, which I was very shocked to hear, they don't even buy into these toxic, insecure, transgender individuals who have more dysphoria than who are, in their opinion, organically gay. When I went to high school, let me tell you something. There were a lot of women that were bandwagon lesbians. Bandwagon lesbians. And let me tell you something. All them gay chicks that were running around my high school got baby daddies today. Some people are bandwagon. Some people are bandwagon so that they can feel accepted in a group. And this is that whole sympathy junkie need for acceptance. It's like, do you got a family? Do you have a family? See, a lot of these people have families that love them. A lot of people have families that love them, but they want to meet a standard of acceptance that is beyond their family's love. They want to meet a standard of acceptance that is what society wants to accept. So that's why you have all these empathy junkie people running around talking about somebody else who don't need the validation of somebody else is toxic. You're toxic because you have confidence. This is what I'm reading some of these people. You hear me, Tiffany? Exactly. Old school gays aren't for this stuff. They not. They're embarrassed by this. They're absolutely embarrassed by it because they're like, that's making us look bad. And really what it's doing is these extreme LBGTQ and all these high flamers or whatever, they're actually inflaming the hearts of individuals who don't really agree with that. You know what I mean? And see, I think that a lot of people that don't agree with certain lifestyles can just be at that point of disagreeing without having any type of emotional feelings towards that disagreement. But the minute you start floundering and exaggerating these things, I think that's when you start getting the emotional appeal. And the liberal media is very intentional in how they the emotional appeal of individuals who are on the fence or outright don't agree with a subject or lifestyle or whatever. These people, they capitalize and profit off of toxic people. They promote toxic people. You know what I mean? That's what they do. They constantly get into people's feelings. So when I think it blew my mind that this Southfield High School Blue Jay dude is now a girl. I went to Southfield High School too. And I would say that these individuals, that these females that I went to school with that were all gay and pride and rainbows and stuff, these chicks got baby daddies, multiple baby daddies. So they weren't really there. They were just bandwagon thinkers. Then they are targeting the little kids with drag queens and cartoons, which is sickening. And that is why I tell parents all the time to safeguard your children and what they look at and constantly be that reinforcement to them. You know what I mean? And I even tell my kids now today, I don't care what your teacher tells you. I plant the seed of my kids doubting the information that their teacher gives them now because a lot of these people are coming from very sinister places, and you have to equip your kids with the necessary knowledge so that when they go into these academic settings or whatever, they're able to listen to what somebody say, but then reject it because they know that that is not what they have been taught. And I'm tired of people putting the lessons and the teaching of their children on the school. Education of kids start at home first. You know what I mean? Stop, breaking up these homes, we will realize this. So and then what they're doing too with these drag queen cartoons, they're trying to, normalize this stuff, but then they're also trying to get kids to want to explore it. That's why I feel like Lil Nas X is being so promoted. Like when you look at Lil Nas X, if you gay, dude, so what? But do you have to do everything flaming? I mean, do you have to do everything flaming? This dude is taking it to a whole nother level to me where you are not inspiring people. You are trying to get young black brothers that buy into your music in whatever way to think that it is okay to do that. And on top of it, promoting satanic worship. It's like, come on. Yeah, they are desensitizing our kids. They're trying to desensitize them. And that is why parents have to be able to equip their kids with the sensibilities so that they can reject these ideas. I talk to my kids, if you go to school with a little boy that thinks that he's a girl, your job is only to respect him. You know what I mean? And work with him, but you do not have to accept the fact that he is a little boy running around as a little girl. I don't think that my child has to accept that, right? My child can respect your kid. Don't disrespect that kid. Don't tease them. Don't call them out on anything. You know what I mean? If you got to do a group project, do that. But you don't have to be involved with that. I don't have to sit there and be on the mic disrespecting LGBTQ trans people, making them feel bad about a decision that they've made for themselves. But in turn, I expect for them not to force feed their decision on me. And I think where these individuals become toxic in society is when they are continuously force feeding their decision making on other people, when they are force feeding their insecurities on other people. So I want to talk about these toxic, insecure people in society. And Lil Nas X looks desperate for fame. He's not organic like RuPaul, who never involved himself with children. Lil Nas X is a satanic plan to subvert black children and even white children. Matter of fact, he's just a plan to subvert vulnerable millennial Gen Zers. Because the Gen Z population is the ones that are broken right now. They're the ones who feel like they know everything, but yet they're the ones who are in constant emotional dysphoria because they are the ones who were taught in school that the parents were toxic and that you can challenge your parents for trying to teach you. So then those lessons, those old school lessons that parents could drive into these kids, they're falling mute because they want to listen to cyberspace. And what's going on? All these sad people. I would have thought in a world where people would be actualized with all this free thinking and cyberspace and all this, do what you want, YOLO. Well, the problem with the YOLO life is like you only live once, yes, but sometimes you live for a long damn time. And you have to make good decisions. You have to make a career for yourself. It's like, I don't respect a man that thinks that it is okay to take from another man that did something different. I think about, I used to work in recruiting, so I work with a lot of career professionals, and I meet a lot of these people who were retired. They got in the game working when they was like 15, 16 years old. Then they went to school. Paul told them to go to school, get an education, right? Then after they went to school, they went into a trade, which got them into, the automotive or manufacturing sector. And a lot of people stayed in their jobs. How are you, Corey? Nice to meet you. Thanks for joining. We're talking about these toxic people in society today. These people who throw their insecurities onto other people and then call them toxic, So when I look at females who talk about toxic masculinity, when I hear toxic masculinity, it's really hard for me to understand where a lot of females are coming when they say toxic masculinity. Because I'm thinking, okay, you don't want a man telling you what to do. You don't want a man correcting you. Is that what you're saying? Somebody define what toxic masculinity is to me. You know what I mean? Because to me, men should lead. Men should lead. And, and I have been so desensitized from that I actually got myself a male mentor who's getting my mind right about these topics. Because I think, when he explains it to me, he said it all boils down to the fact that feminists have made women believe that men should not say things to them, that men should not have expectations of even women. You know what I mean? It's like, and I'm like, well, yeah, in that context, then I can understand that if a man, and he told me this and I wrote it down. He said, women refuse to accept the fact that men view overweight women as insecure. They see the insecurities. Like, they look at women like Lizzo and they see her insecurities all over her, and women don't want to accept this because they want to, people to say, well, you're going to accept me as I am. And, in a way, I'm like, okay, I'm one of those people where it's like, okay, there are certain aspects about my character that probably will not change. It probably will not change. But I can say that I can make adjustments, as I feel like those adjustments will make me better interact with other people. A lot of women who say are against toxic masculinity want to compete with men and can't. And that's what it is. A lot of these women have female feelings playing in a male's game. Female feelings in a male's game. A lot of these beta type women, because that's what it is. You have beta women. See, alpha type of women can concede to men. And a lot of people want to say that they don't, but they do. But beta women, when they're in the mindset of wanting to compete with men and they can't do it, that is when they start crying. That's when they're like, oh, he was, this is a white man's world. No, Becky, you just weren't producing like John. Let's just bring it on home. You weren't producing like him. You wanted to be like this man, but then when we put you in a position where it was time to show up and do exactly what that man did, you did not show up like he did. Because you're so busy thinking that you can do everything a man can do and you can think like a man, but when it's time to show up, you know what I mean? And women need to realize this. And this is where, these men make a valid point. When a burglar comes in the house, right? Now you want to be big flexing and you want to be a man, and some of these toxic females, whatever, they'll get themselves a beta man just so they can boss around. But guess who they expect to be up front if somebody run up in their shit? The beta dude. And if I was a beta dude, I'd be like, bitch, you want to be like me. Oops, I'm sorry. I shouldn't be calling females bitches. But I'm like, okay, you want to be like me. So if somebody run up in this house, if a burglar run up in that house, I expect for your ass to go and take him down. Go take him down, Becky. Since you want to be like men, take him down. Unless you got a Glock. If we got Glocks, we good. We'll just put them out real quick with a hollow point and keep it moving. But when you're talking about certain tactical thinking, tactical moving, men have a different feel with it, right? So it's like women need to be realistic of our limitations, even down to even emotional intelligence. I feel like men and women have come with a different emotional intelligence, and only the men that have been conditioned by women have women-like emotional intelligence. So we have a lot of men being raised by women with very limited male influences. And my male mentor told me that by the age of 8 years old, that a boy should be turned over into the hands of a male. And he believes that women should have very limited contact, and when he says limited contact, involvement in the development of a male child after 8 years old. That is when the male influence pretty much should dominate. That is his personal opinion, and I am inclined to agree with that, because I feel like after you get to that vulnerable cognitive age of children, they really need to have that dominant influence to sway them. So for young girls, and this may seem old school, it is the mother's influence. Do you know how many females don't know how to season chicken? And they talking about they want a man? Do you know how many females don't know how to cut potatoes and simple shit? And you out here trying to be a man and you can't even do basic woman stuff. I mean, you see what I'm saying? Too much soy in them. Man, I don't know what the hell is wrong with these people today. But men, women need to be practical. You know what I mean? We need to bring it down. We are not men. Even if, society has conditioned us that we can match with men, we can do all that, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, when you walking down the street thinking you big Hercules, Betty, or whatever, and then 6 foot John come and take your ass out, then you know today that you're not a man. Okay? Women need to understand that. We're not men. And I think that women who think they are men, to me, they can be more of a target for, to me, hyper masculine men, because there are some men that are toxically masculine. And those toxically masculine men, they don't mind putting their hands on women. They don't mind putting their hands on women. So if you're a woman that's thinking that you a dude that you can max with a dude, trust and believe there's a toxic man out there that might be trying to put your ass back into reality, because some of them are too emotionally charged because they feel like their masculinity is already being threatened by you. So that's why I have an issue with soft men. They make women think they can be like men. Oh, yeah. Soft men, soft men typically have been raised by a female dominant influence. If you were to sample most of these dudes that are beta type, you're going to find that they have, like my friend Chris said, their feminine influence was dominant beyond the age of 8 years old. Now and he was telling me that our cultures are really messed up when it comes to establishing the mindset of a man. In Jewish culture, they believe that a boy is a man at the age of 13. In Native American culture, they at 13, I believe that is their rite of passage as a manhood. Only in gang life culture, really, in the United States, where the rite of passage of a man is the age of 12 or 13. Isn't that messed up? You think about it, most gang members jump off the porch when they're 12 or 13. And so the only real structured of men being at 13, men becoming men at 13 in American culture today are really if you're Native American, if you're Jewish, or if you're in a gang. All the other boys are not, they are considered, teenage boys, growing up. You know what I mean? And that's where dads really need to be there. And if you're a single mom, husband died, or whatever the case is, baby daddy not around, that is when you really need, my friend Chris at the age of 8, you really need a male dominant influence. I have a friend, Troy, that lives out in Texas. He's been involved, he's a white male, and he's been involved with this young black boy's life since he was 6 years old. Never had any involvement with the mom. I think that he was involved with her over a little bit, but she didn't want him. But that time that they were together, he got attached to the son because he recognized that the mother had limitations. So fast forward, he's been in this young boy's life for 11 years. This man has been so invested in this young boy that he paid for his first year of college, and I think I'm pretty sure he's going to help him out as much as he can. But I think that men, whether you don't have to take on a financial burden of young boys without dads, but I think that men do need to be conscious that when you see an 8-year-old boy running around and his mother is that dominant influence, you got 7 and 8-year-olds doing shootouts and stuff at cops. It is. That is why they said male mentorship is absolutely necessary. And he's saying if you don't get him by the age of 8 with that dominant male influence that's not a gang member, but somebody that can actually help that child have a vision of themselves. We have a lot of lost boys in this country. And that's why we have a lot of beta men in this country, because we have a lot of women who are raising good guys and not raising men. That's what's going on. And these men come with their own toxicity, with their beta personalities, because everything and everyone who is more actualized or more accomplished than they are is considered toxic because they cannot compete with this person. You know what I mean? So we need to start thinking about these toxic people in society for real. I mean, because I don't feel like these insecure people should keep getting a pass, basically putting their insecurities on society. And then we're actually making decisions around these insecurities. You know what I mean? My thing is, if I want my kids to learn about gender identity and all that stuff, or if I felt like my kids had some type of gender dysphoria, I would make the executive decision to hire therapists to help our families talk those things out. You know what I mean? Education system is infiltrating our kids with this dysphoria, race dysphoria, gender dysphoria. These insecurities are being intentionally implanted, creating the toxicity that we see today. So I'm telling everybody, safeguard your mind, safeguard your hearts, your children, and make sure that when you're dealing with these insecure beta people, I've been putting people back on themselves when they're like, oh, you're racist, or you don't care about black people problems, or you don't do this. I'm like, you're insecure. You're insecure and you're bandwagon thinking on insecure things because you can't look at yourself in the mirror. You're jealous of people that can look at themselves in the mirror, and it doesn't even have to be for vain reasons, and say, you know what? I believe in myself. I believe in my capabilities. I can deliver. I can put myself out there with confidence. I mean, I feel like we are victims of other people's insecurities. And I think that we need to talk about these toxic, insecure people in society, whether they're LGBTQ, women, feminist women who still can't match up to men and their feelings, and they want, and it just, I don't even want to talk about this too much, but like, the fact that they are making companies create quotas to hire certain women on boards and stuff, it's like, this is tokenism. I wouldn't even, yeah, they're feminist Nazis. They're feminist Nazi. We're going to make you give us what we want, even if we don't qualify. I wonder how many of these token females that get hand selected on these boards actually make an impact. Or they just get your ass on the board so that they can say, we did it, and then you just going to sit your ass down and still be in a woman's place? Because I think that's where a lot of it, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of that happened. Like, yeah, come on, token. Come on the board. But you still going to sit your ass down there and be a woman. You know what I mean? I believe that men should lead. And it's funny because I've never really sat too well with female bosses. I've always liked male bosses. I've always gotten along with them. We've always just been able to just make moves. It's like female bosses came with way too many hangups, and half of them were not qualified, and they were jealous of the fact that I could probably do their job with my eyes closed. So I like the leadership of men for a variety of different reasons, because I find men to be very emotionally balanced. Females can be too hormonal, and a lot of times when you're dealing with this female that feel like she just got something to prove, even though she's in this position, they can get real vindictive. People don't talk about how vindictive some women can be, especially insecure women. You know what I mean? You got women who, like, I believe in the women that cry wolf when it comes to men that have rejected them. Maybe these men displayed some chauvinistic talking about them, like, yeah, she let me do this. And now I totally believe in the cry wolf, our word victim. I do believe that there are some women out here who are so adamant to sabotage men that they know that they can play the woman card. Once you call somebody a rapist, for example, once you put that stigma on somebody, even if it's not true, it's implanted. And a lot of women are hyper aware. A lot of these beta insecure women are hyper aware that the rape card, the sexual harassment card, works to sabotage men. And I think more women, this is more a conversation for women standing up to this and calling this out. We know that there are certain women that use the rape and sexual harassment card inorganically to sabotage men. Let's just say it. Let's just put it out in the galaxy, because that's absolutely something that happens. Some women use the allegations of rape and sexual harassment to sabotage men. And I think the more we can say that sentence, the more that we can rationally I would say think about these arguments sometimes in the mainstream and stop vilifying men in the court of public opinion. Because sometimes when a woman says, "Oh, he brought drugs," right? We were hanging out and he bought drugs, right? Okay, yeah, he might have bought drugs, but do you know how many females in Detroit right now meeting dudes on Tinder, and this dude promises her $40, and he's gonna have some weed and drink. You know what I mean? Look at that show, that Christmas song, "Baby It's Cold Outside." Has anybody ever listened to the lyrics of "Baby It's Cold Outside"? Right? This is trying to get her lit so he can get those. Okay? Is it right? He's being a man. He's being a man. Okay? I'm a woman, and I realize that men are attracted to women. Men are physically, for the most part, attracted to women. Before they even want to get into our emotions in our head, they're visualizing us in a way that we may not be visualizing them. We may be looking at them like, "Oh my God, I wonder, is he going to love me forever?" Some of us that are not gold diggers. But, some dudes, they're looking at us physically a lot of times. Are you going to age well? A lot of those times. But listen to "Baby It's Cold Outside." Listen to the lyrics of that jingle that we sing all the time. That dude was trying to get her lit. There are some women that will not even go hang out with a dude if he's not supplying the drink and the drugs. You know what I mean? And these are women that I feel like black men need to be conscious of too, because women, if things don't go their way, I'm going to say it again, we need to start calling other women out on the fact that they use rape allegations against men. Not all the time, because there are some organic sexual harassment and rape victims that need to be heard. But there are a lot of bandwagon sexual harassment and rape allegation victims, so-called victims, that are on the bandwagon because they know that that is the quickest way to sabotage a man. And women need to start saying this more. We need to start saying these sentences more. I can't stand for a woman with a bad attitude to be in charge. I can't stand bad female bosses. Females, I feel like, when you're dealing with female leadership, it can be hot or cold. It can be hot or cold because depending on how unactualized that woman is and entitled she was to get that position, right? Women can be terrible leaders, and it's not anything to do with strategy, and it has everything to do with emotions and emotional intelligence and balance. Some of us, I'm not saying all, some of us do not have the emotional intelligence to be in leadership, and we are pushing for those roles, and we should not. We need to call fake women out. We do need to call fake women out, because I feel like women are really making it hard for society. Some women, it's just creating this imbalance for society that is just, it's not healthy. It's not healthy for the mental health of most people in society. It's not healthy for the mental health of a functioning society. And women need to start taking ownership of that. We need to start calling each other out and saying that we stand for victims of rape and sexual assault, but we do not stand for these fake bitches that are using those situations as a means to sabotage or take down a man. We don't stand with you. We don't stand for the fake women who use rape allegations and sexual assault because they want to use that as leverage to sabotage a man. I think women need to keep saying that, calling it out. I do not stand with women that misuse their womanhood as a means to sabotage a man. No, I am not. Nope. No, I'm not. Detroit. Detroit. But we need to start calling this stuff out because I feel like men don't really have a whole lot of options when it comes to what a woman says. They really don't. You know what I mean? And I feel like the reason why they don't have a whole lot of options against what women say is because women band together in emotional ignorance and we tolerate things from each other that is absolutely not helpful and unproductive and can be very damaging to another person. So I feel like women need to start calling each other out and we need to start setting our tolerance levels with each other. Okay? We are not men. Maybe intellectually we can spar and talk and communicate with men, but we need to understand our limitations, especially when it comes to physical activities too. Women can work just as hard to get to where a man is, right? But let's just be real about just the common scenarios of life. You know what I mean? We had a female operations manager at my job. People would scatter whenever they would see her approaching. She tried to be professional, but the streets would come out of her, which made her toxic. I mean, some women, a lot of women when they get into positions of power, they understand. I feel like subconsciously women understand that for the most part, the order of society is men lead. Men lead. Men lead, right? And the reason why women feel like they have to become men almost is because they know subconsciously that they are in a position of leadership leading men. And when some women get into a position of leadership of leading men, they take that to a whole nother level. They become the bro you never wanted. They become like the bro you never wanted because, they even, kind of walk like dudes. Like these women that lead a lot of men, they tend to have very masculine type of personalities. I get it when people say you're masculine because you have a hard person. I'm like, you need to go over into some of these manufacturing spaces and see these chicks. And you see on the side of Black America, the media doesn't want to show we're not a monolith. Amen. All Black people or any segment of Black America is the same damn train of thought. And this is where I feel like the mainstream media does a very good job at trying to paint Black people as being ignorant. And we even have face fronts in our own community that can be paid by the mainstream to perpetuate these narratives about us. You know what I mean? When you can sit back and we're sitting here, people of color, just chopping it up about conversations that impact everybody, but we're doing this in a rational. We're not. I hope you guys don't think I'm trying to appeal to your emotions. I'm trying to appeal to your sensibilities here. You know what I mean? It's sensible that women need to start having the conversation about other women and the toxicity that they perpetuate into society, and really what makes it hard for other women. These women make it hard for other people. So to recap, you guys, thank you so much for checking in, tuning in, and having this conversation. We're talking about toxic insecurity. And I've talked about the LGBTQIA people, right? That's toxic. And I'm not saying they're toxic because of the lifestyle that they chose to live. I'm saying they are toxic because they are force feeding their lifestyle down Americans' throat and other people's throats that don't agree with that lifestyle. They are flaunting that lifestyle, in my opinion, making even individuals within the gay community question what their true intentions are. It seems like to me these people are trying to spread toxicity of hate for that community instead of love and acceptance. Because there's one thing to be gay, but you ain't got to be flaming all over the damn place. Some of these people are super flamers. And even gay people are stepping back like, y'all making us look bad. Y'all are toxic for the movement of understanding of our particular group, right? Then you have your toxic social justice warriors who really, at the end of the day, when you ask them, how has racism impacted your own personal life? Do you know how many black men I know that have never been pulled over and or stopped by the police? I know a lot of black men who have never experienced police brutality, who have never experienced any negative encounter with the police. And even when they encountered the police, they did with a, here's your license registration, I'm in compliance, blah, 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 fucked up, I was speeding, blah, 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 boop, we out of there, right? Do you know how many situations like that happen, right? But what they do in the media is they want to highlight in a toxic manner the poverty line black segment where the high crime is, right? When you have a poverty line, you have high crime. And what they do is they project those situations onto every single black person's experience in this country. So now we all scared to go outside of our houses and drive our cars because we're scared of a white police officer. Not. Most black people in Metro Detroit area do not go out of the house with these types of fears. And I think if everybody stepped back and realized, even in their own working situation, you may have ran into racist people in the workplace. But for the most part, most people can say that I've been able to go into work, do my job without dealing with racism every day, practically. You know what I mean? But these toxic people will appeal to your emotions. And they will project all of them onto you. And I tell people, and I'm going to close this off, don't put your shit on me. That is what insecure, toxic people are doing in society today. I can look in the mirror and be okay with the person that I see, even if it doesn't meet any societal standards of who I should be. They can't do that. Because the media has conditioned them into believing that they have to do it. So they are toxic towards individuals that can do it, who can look in the mirror. The media acts like black suburbanites don't exist in its large population. That's what I'm talking about. That's where, I don't really try to confine my reasoning to like the general area or bubble that I live in. But I've lived in Metro Detroit for pretty much most of my life, and I've lived in diverse cities within Metro Detroit. I've lived in Detroit, I've lived in suburbia, and there were so many black people living in these respective areas. The communities were relatively mixed. But they don't want to talk about middle America black because they're busy wiping out the middle class. Why would you highlight middle America, black America as, thriving when there's a mission to wipe out the entire American middle class, right? Then you guys like LeBron. Then you got guys like LeBron James who has major influence on thoughts saying that blacks are being haunted when they leave their homes, perpetuating a false narrative. They are paid. Those are black ops. I don't revere somebody like LeBron James. I don't. I really don't. I don't revere LeBron James. He is a communist black man to me. He's a communist black man. He's a communist black man, in my opinion. I don't like LeBron James, and any other paid black that live in these predominantly white areas who talk about black dysphoria, they can kick rocks. I don't listen to paid blacks at all. I mean, LeBron knows that he's like the only people, and this is the thing, the only people that are force feeding these black people down our throats are white people. And this is no shade on whites, because I think there's a lot of good white people in this nation that are just tired of the black narrative being thrown out any old way. I talk to so many white Americans who are just tired of black people being painted certain ways because they know from the black people that they interact with that they don't fit these narratives. that they have been coexisting with these black people with no problem, and they've just been able to be Americans. You know what I mean? You got people like LeBron and Oprah. These people are paid by whites to perpetuate these ideas to blacks. All the while, they're making sure that you don't cross the line into their class system. Because again, America is a class system. And when you break that class system down into segments, Black America has its class system too. So you have a lot of toxic Black people who are insecure about losing their spot, who are keeping their people down. So I tell people, don't put your shit on me. And I usually flip toxic beta people on themselves. So when you coming at me telling me what I think about myself, I'm gonna tell you what I think about myself, but I'm also gonna tell you why you telling me what I think about myself, because you are not busy thinking about what you think about yourself. They keep pushing victimhood because the people who buy into victimhood are the toxic, insecure people of society. Let's just bring it on home. People who buy into victimhood, especially victimhood that is not organically their own, these are the toxic people in societies, because they're going to force feed. They're going to force feed their victimhood on society and you, and make you believe it. So if I feel like tomorrow I want to be a dude, or I want to be a unicorn, I'm gonna make you accept the fact that I'm a unicorn. I don't care how y'all saw me looking today. Tomorrow I'm gonna be a unicorn, and y'all need to accept that. Call me unicornia. I don't know, and I want you to acknowledge my pronoun, that I am not a human. I am a unicorn. Right? I'm a unicorn. Tomorrow, I'm transitioning into becoming a unicorn. And I need you to accept the fact that I'm going to be walking around with a tail and a little cone on my head. And I don't care if you think I'm human, I'm a unicorn. This is what they got. This is what they're force feeding to society. This is the shit that they put on. Let me close this window, because these lights are attracting some little tiny people. But that's what they're force feeding onto us. So you guys have a wonderful night. Is this Maxine Waters live out of her district in a white neighborhood? Joe Collins called that out. Yes, she doesn't want to live in Baldwin Hills, her district where black surgeons and attorneys live. Of course not, because she's still above them. She's still above them. And Joe Collins called that out. She want to live where her real people are, her class system people. It's a serious mental disease. It is. It is. And people don't realize this. People don't realize that there are more people that need therapy for not being able to self-actualize and accept themselves than the toxicity of society. Because society is only toxic for people who cannot actualize in it. Yeah, I worked for the Joe Collins campaign. You know what kills me about some of these mainstream conservatives who throw shade on Joe Collins? Look, I don't know anything about money or how campaigns are ran or stuff like that, but let's just talk about how these people talked about how these individuals did not win their districts or something like that. Excuse me, like something. But let's talk about how they didn't win their districts. It's like, when you're dealing with a predominantly Democratic district, it's not going to get flipped overnight. You know what I mean? And I think it's kind of toxic for any mainstream conservative, black conservative, to throw shade on Joe Collins or Kim for making the attempt, for planting those seeds. So I definitely big ups to Joe Collins' campaign. I hope he runs again, and I hope he is successful. LeBron lives in Beverly Hills with the rich, yet claims that blacks are being haunted. And that's what I'm saying. I'm like, are you being haunted, LeBron? Are you being haunted? What do you even know about what blacks are dealing with, because you are so far removed from normal blacks? It's like, and this is what, mainstream, they're like, let's just get some Negroes. Let's get Negroes to talk to Negroes, whether it's Oprah and LeBron on the liberal side or Candace Owens and their little turning point people and stuff on that side. It's like we got too many unqualified blacks talking about black stuff, and it's like y'all are not observing normal black America. Y'all not even talking about us in the right context. Oh, good, he is running again. Yeah, LeBron sells delusional Chinese communist dreams to black people so that we can buy into socialism. And if you guys, I tell, I'm reading Masters of Deceit. And, they talk about, so many, this is kind of talking about how communism kind of crept into America. I encourage people to read this. I'm using it for research for my book. And in recent years, there has been a tendency to discount the menace of the domestic communists solely because of the decline of the party. But it was talking about, there was one part I was reading where these people feed into the emotional insecurities of people in order to push their socialist communist agenda. And it really is, it's mind control. And and a lot of people, I think the reason why a lot of this stuff is starting to seem unnatural is because they're really force feeding it down your throat. That's why I tell people, disconnect from anything mainstream and really just handpick how you want information delivered to you. And that's why YouTubers are coming up so hard, because people are tired of the mainstream narratives, the perspectives. They're tired of being force fed MK Ultra mind control images and ideas. They complain about the struggles going on in the district or state, but but aren't doing anything about it. Whatever happened about giving props for trying? Yeah, I give anybody props for trying, and my thing is, you keep trying. You know what I mean? I don't expect to, if I don't see myself running for offices, but if I did something on a local level, or even if I did try to run for Congress or whatnot, I know that it would be a challenge for me in Detroit, but it won't be as hard as it would be in Baltimore, because I feel like I can speak to the sensibilities of Detroiters in an organic way. You know what I mean? But to say that, this person is missed 27% and painting it as a failure, I think that, that's an indication of jealousy, but also it really discourages other black conservatives for trying to make the attempt to flip predominantly Democratic district with different messaging. So I don't subscribe to anybody discouraging anybody from trying to make a difference, making the attempt. And until these individuals make the attempt and either pass or fail, keep your mouth shut. Good night, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Thanks for chatting with me. Watch out for that toxic insecurity, and let's keep talking about these words. If you talk to people, that's toxic insecurity. Just start putting it on people. Toxic insecurity. You're putting your shit on me. I need you to stop that and be able to look at yourself in the mirror and accept yourself however you need to accept yourself, but don't put your shit on me. Have a good evening. Good night.